This is my 2012 BMW X3 35i with the N55 engine, and today we will be installing a used VRSF Catless downpipe. I'd also recommend replacing the gasket that attaches to the turbo. I got this one from FCP Euro. It's probably one of the best places to get parts from. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is remove the engine cover. Make sure you don't lose these guys. They fall out easy. Alright. This is a 7mm. Okay. I'm gonna loosen this 10 to give us more wiggle room. Alright, so we're going to move forward without taking the intake ducting off. These are the O2 sensors right here for the downpipe. One's gray, one's black. And they go down to the downpipe right there. As you can see, I've already replaced my vacuum line. I did have a pretty bad leak in the original lines, so replacing them actually made a very nice difference. So to take out the O2 sensor plugs, push this clip out and pull up on the O2 sensor plug. This one might be hard to get to. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So they're loose. Now we'll disconnect them. Alright, so I went ahead and unplugged these. All you'll need to do, push down in the center here, like that, and pull apart. Make sure you mark the plugs so they go back in the right position. Do not mix those up. The one with the black loom is towards the front of the car. The one with the gray loom is towards the rear of the car. So now, if you see down there, they go into a clip. So you can just pull these right out. Just like that. Yeah, okay. So now, we will jack up the car and work from underneath. Alright, the first step from underneath the car is going to be removing all of the 8mm bolts that hold in the belly pan. We'll need to drop that to get access to underneath the engine. There's also two 10mm nuts towards the front on either side of the belly pan. that look like this. All right. Take that off. All right. Now slide the belly pan back. There we go. And that is out. Out of the, get out of the, I do not leave any hardware under the car. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and remove the transmission cover, which is another 4 8mm bolts. Screws, actually. That'll just come right off. All right, so now we have plenty of access to the downpipe. There we go. There she is. She's looking ready to come out. First thing we'll do is tackle this nut here and that nut up here. So we'll take those off first, and then we'll do this clamp here. All right, let's start removing the bracket for the downpipe. This is a 13mm. Damn mosquitoes. All right, and the one up top is also a 13. Okay. All right, both of those are off. Next, let us try the clamp here. This is a 15. Oh, yeah, that's not working. Okay, now let's get this clamp off. 15mm. I have an impact socket here, but you don't really have to use that. And then I have my fancy Harbor Freight extendable ratchet. All right. Looks like we're good, so we'll shorten that up. All right. See, the thing about Florida cars is that they come apart a bit easier than cars that are from up north. So you have a nut, and then a washer, and then this spacer that contours to the shape of the clamp. So they'll go back together in that order. So I've actually decided to remove this stiffening plate here. I like to have a lot of room to work when I'm doing something, so I'm gonna take the extra step and take this off. You may not feel like you need to, and that's fine. That's just kind of how I am. So we're gonna extend this out, and we're gonna pop this thing off. Again, I like to have a lot of room to work, so let's just break them all loose first. There we go. Nice. So now we'll take all this off. All right, there's one. There's two. So now that's out. It's dirty as. All right. Obviously, I have some oil I gotta fix here. Some oil leaks. All right. So now I have, let me zoom out on this. There we go. Oh, no. There we go. So with that support removed, now I pretty much am able to reach all the way up to the V-band clamp. So that is what we will remove next. All right, so I have a ratcheting 13mm wrench on the bolt for the V-band clamp. It is a bit tight up here, so this might take me a while, but this is probably the best way to get this off, is with a ratcheting wrench here. So all right guys, bolts out. There's a little lock washer on the bolt for the V-band clamp, so that's out. Once it's out, you can just take your hand and kind of open it up. Okay. Okay. So this thing's pretty loose. What we're gonna have to do next, we're gonna have to lower the exhaust a little bit to give us some wiggle room to get this downpipe out. So we'll start here first. Let me see if I can zoom out for you guys. There you go. So right after the downpipe, this is probably a 13. Let's see. Yep. So let's go ahead and let's loosen that out. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Nope. Just keep going. Okay. So that's out. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen the OEM downpipe bracket that is held in with the bell housing bolts. I'm gonna remove that to kind of make it easier to slide this original downpipe out. The top one is a, let's see here, E18. Okay, so that's right up here. Okay, and then a smaller one here is a E10. Let's see if we can get that on the camera. All right, here we go. We'll start with the lower E10 first. Okay, there's one out. It looks like it comes with some oil too. Your car shouldn't have that, just mine, because, well, yep. Let's see here. So now, let's go ahead and try this top one. Let's see if we can get that on the camera. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the top of the screen. Might need to do without the... Alright, so I loosened this bracket here, which we're able to pretty much drop everything down now. So I'm just gonna pull down and see what happens. Yep. All right, so downpipe is almost out. There's one thing that has to be done. I'll just slide into position here and get some light. So it's kind of hard to see, but if you look up there, let's see if I can hold all this with one hand. The wiring for the O2 sensor for both of them goes up to a clip up in here, and I'm not really gonna be able to record this and do it at the same time, but pretty much what's gonna have to happen is you'll have to reach up in there and just pop the wiring out of the clips. It'll be pretty easy, but it's very similar to the clip that was right up near the valve cover that we took off at the beginning. So you'll have to reach up there. You can kind of see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. There's just a couple clips holding all this stuff in. So just pull the wiring out of those clips and then everything should be able to drop down. All right, just real quick. I had to use both hands and reach up there to pop the, this is the upstream O2 sensor. I had to reach both my hands up there and pop this out of that clip. The downstream O2, this guy here, just came out pretty easily. It's right in that little part right there. So O2s are out. Now I'm gonna try to pull the downpipe off. All right, guys, downpipe's ready to come off. So I'm gonna go ahead and push down on the exhaust like that while pulling forward on the downpipe to slide it out of the exhaust. So oh my God. There she is. All right, downpipe is off, guys. Downpipe is off. Sweet, let's take a look. Let's get a first look at our spoolie boy. There you go. So I think it'll be a lot easier getting the new downpipe on because the diameter is much smaller. All right, now let's take out the old gasket. I've already used a pick tool and I've already kind of pried it out. So just carefully pull around. There you go. Okay, so old gasket's out. It's definitely not worth risking it trying to reuse the one that was already in there. All right, so here's the old one. Old versus new. Old, new. You can see it still. You can see the difference there. Okay. So we'll put the new one in. Trying to do this with one hand. Just carefully and evenly press it in all the way around. Okay. Let's go ahead and swap the O2 sensors. I've already broken mine loose as they gave me a bit of a hard time. They're 22 millimeter. Make sure you put them in the proper location. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit of anti-seize on the threads because I don't want them to get stuck in there again. So just a very small amount will do. Very small amount will do. Okay. Go ahead and thread them in. Okay. Gray is downstream. Black is upstream. Again, a very small amount will be fine. don't want to cake this stuff on. There we go. Okay. Alright, and then we'll tighten them up. Sweet. Alright, both two sensors are tight. Now we're ready to put this thing in the car. I went ahead and slid the Catless downpipe into the exhaust. One thing I do want to note, 100% you will have to take off the bracket for the OEM downpipe. You'll have to remove that with the downpipe because the space between the bracket and the O2 sensor is very small, so the bracket cannot come out until the O2 sensor comes out. So you'll have to remove this one and the E18 up top here. So take those out. The O2 sensors are in. I've slid this in here. I'm still gonna leave it loose so I can rotate the downpipe this way in any direction if I need to get it aligned properly. So let's go ahead and fit this thing up in there. A lot more room. Okay, so one thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put the O2 sensor lines back into the original places that they were connected to. Snap those in there. Alright. Alright. Much more room with the Catless downpipe in. So kind of hard to see up in there, but the wiring is installed. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but it's snapped back in to the bracket, so that's good. I think we're gonna have to rotate the downpipe a little bit. Let me see here. There we go. After I snapped the O2 sensors into the bracket up here, I then reached my hand up here and put the O2 sensors up here so they're ready to be plugged in up top. So now let's get everything back together down here. What I've done is I've went ahead and rotated this in what I believe is the proper orientation. The gap to the turbo seems to be pretty even all around, so I'll go ahead and put the V-band clamp on and tighten that down. So V-band clamp is on, bolt is in. I have to tighten it up. One thing you'll want to do, this 13mm nut here that we removed to drop the exhaust, go ahead and I just snug that up with my fingers, so that way the exhaust will be supported. This is what the alignment looks like in this direction I'm talking about, between the downstream O2 and the transmission, about a finger. So that all lines up good. Let me get up in here close. The V-band clamp is on. I'll tighten up the 13mm nut there, or the bolt, I'm sorry. And alright guys, V-band clamp is on and tight. So now we're gonna put this clamp back together. So we're gonna do this first, and then the washer, and then the 15mm nut. So get those on there. All right, we'll tighten her up. Alrighty. Alright. And now we will grab a 13mm and we will tighten up this exhaust hanger nut. Alright, after you tighten up that exhaust nut and get everything tightened up here with the downpipe, you can go ahead and put everything back together underneath. I've went ahead and put this back on here. 4 18mm bolts. Put this back on. And then I've just reinstalled the transmission cover underneath. So now I'll go ahead and put the belly pan back on. That has all the 8mm nuts, 8mm screws, I'm sorry. And then 2 10mm nuts towards the front on each end here. So belly pan is on, transmission cover, everything's back together underneath. So we can go ahead and lower the car back down and reconnect the O2 sensors up top. Okay guys, once the car is back on the ground, let's go ahead and reconnect the O2 sensors. First thing you'll want to do down here is get them back into this clip to hold them in place near the valve cover. Reconnect them to the other side here, make sure you don't mix them up, and push them down into the clips and they'll just lock in place. I did this without removing any of the intake ducting. Alright, O2 sensors are all reconnected. This foam block here this foam piece can kind of slide back into place underneath the intake piping. I went ahead and tightened up this 7mm hose clamp here. I put this 10mm screw back in that held this piece in. Last thing we really have to do is just put the engine cover on, so make sure that these guys here are in place, and they'll slide into these two tabs here, and at the front you'll just push down onto these guys. So there you go. And we are all done. All right, we are all done, ready to start it up for the first time. So let's hear. It's a Catless Downpipe VRSF with OEM exhaust, but with the Golf T mod, or the vacuum line from the engine. The vacuum line is teed off, so the valve at the tips is they're always open, so it's a bit louder than stock.